You know, some stories just really seem to stick with us, don't they?
They do. They really do.
I mean, we're talking about narratives that have been around for centuries.
Oh, absolutely.
They pop up in art, literature, even
yeah.
those big budget movies sometimes too, you know?
Definitely.
And today we are taking a deep dive into one of those stories, the fall of Lucifer.
Oh, okay.
But, and this is key here,
Oh.
we're not just going back to the old Sunday school version of the story.
Okay, interesting.
We've got some source material that really digs into, like, the why.
Okay.
The why behind the rebellion.
Got it.
And it makes both Lucifer and Jesus surprisingly relatable.
Interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating how this material takes these, well, let's face it, iconic figures and presents them as, well, as complex characters.
Right. Yeah.
With relatable motivations. What did you say?
Oh, for sure.
It really gets you thinking about those big questions. We're talking ambition, free will, purpose.
Right.
Makes you see them in a whole new light.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know me, I love to uncover the hidden layers of a story.
Of course, yeah.
So to really understand this fall from grace, well, we need to go back to the very beginning.
Okay.
And I don't mean heaven.
Okay.
I mean this void that existed before creation.
Right. Before it all began.
Can you set the scene for us?
Sure.
What's going on before all the drama unfolds?
Well, picture this.
Okay.
Imagine this boundless expanse.
Okay.
No stars, no planets, not even light or darkness.
Wow.
Just pure potential.
Okay.
And existing in this void are only two beings, and that's it.
Wait.
Just Jesus and Lucifer.
Okay.
Now, what's really interesting here is that there's no sense of, good versus evil.
Okay.
Not yet, anyway.
Right.
It's literally just these two beings in this void having these deep, and I mean deep philosophical conversations with the Creator.
So no pearly gates, no fire and brimstone, just a cosmic philosophy seminar.
Exactly.
I like it.
And that is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
You see, the source material paints Lucifer as this incredibly intelligent being, like off the charts intelligent.
Okay.
But he's also incredibly curious.
Okay.
He's not content to just simply exist.
Right.
He wants to understand.
Sure.
He needs to know the why, the how, the what's it all about.
Okay. I get it, yeah.
And this is what leads him to ask some pretty tough questions.
Oh, I bet.
About creation, about free will, that kind of thing.
And this is key here, right?
Yeah.
Because it'd be really easy to just write Lucifer off as just evil.
Right.
Just bad to the bone.
Right.
But this source material hints that something way more complex is going on.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right.
Much more complex.
Yeah.
In fact, there's this one line that really stuck with me.
Okay.
Lucifer asks, if we are free, why must we submit?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Right.
Okay.
And I think we've all felt that tension at some point, haven't we?
Oh, absolutely.
That desire to be both independent, but also to be part of something bigger.
Oh, 100%.
It's like this fundamental human dilemma. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's right there at the core of Lucifer's struggle.
Yeah, it's like in our careers, in our relationships, sometimes even just in our own minds.
Absolutely.
It's that push and pull between autonomy and belonging, you know?
Yeah.
It's what makes what Lucifer's going through so relatable even all these years later.
It is. And what's interesting is how Jesus responds to these questions.
Okay.
I mean, these are tough questions, right?
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't shut Lucifer down.
Right.
He doesn't dismiss him.
Okay.
Instead, he engages with him.
Okay.
He offers a different perspective.
Got it.
And it's really interesting, this back and forth between these two.
It's almost like even in this void before creation, you can see the seeds of their future roles being planted.
Exactly.
Lucifer, always the one to ask the tough questions, and Jesus guiding with compassion.
That's a great way to put it. And it's as we move from this kind of primordial soup of potential into the moment of creation that we really see how those fundamental differences play out.
Okay.
But with, some pretty dramatic consequences.
Oh, I bet. So how does the source material describe that moment when creation begins?
Okay.
Is it like a big bang?
Yeah.
A burst of light? What do we get?
It's actually described as this gradual unfolding.
Okay.
A slow build of wonder and awe.
Okay.
Imagine standing in front of a canvas as an artist begins to paint.
Okay.
With each stroke, a new element emerges, building and building until bam.
Yeah.
You're left speechless.
Wow.
That's kind of how this source material portrays the creation of everything.
I like it. Okay, so we have the creation of the cosmos.
Yes.
And I'm sensing that not everybody is thrilled with this whole thing.
You got it.
What's going on with Lucifer as he's witnessing all of this?
Well, this is where we start to see that shadow emerge, the shadow I mentioned earlier.
Okay, the shadow. Okay.
Remember that Lucifer is associated with light, with brilliance.
Right.
He's got this immense creative potential just bubbling inside.
Okay.
So as creation unfolds, he feels admiration, sure, but also this, what if?
What if?
What if I could create?
Oh.
What if I had this power?
Interesting.
It's less about him disagreeing with the creator at this point.
Right.
And more about this deep desire to be the creator.
Ooh, okay, so that seed of ambition,
Yeah.
that need to be in control, it's starting to take root.
Exactly.
That's something I think we can all relate to, even if it's, not on a cosmic scale.
It's a very human thing.
Right, exactly.
And you know what's fascinating?
What's that?
The source material. It points out that Lucifer, he's not tricking the angels that end up joining him.
Oh, okay.
He's persuading them.
Okay.
He's laying out this whole worldview, you see, where it's individual will above all else.
Okay. Got it.
He's making the case that his way, the path that puts autonomy first, that's true freedom.
So even in this grand story of, good and evil, there's this element of choice.
Right.
These angels are making a decision.
Exactly.
They're siding with Lucifer and his vision.
Yes.
Which adds a whole other layer to things, doesn't it?
For sure. It reminds us that we always have a choice.
That's a good point.
Even when someone is super persuasive,
Yeah.
When we feel that pull to just go along, we still have a choice. But it does make you wonder, what finally pushes Lucifer from questioning to, full-on rebellion?
Right.
What's the tipping point?
Yeah, what's the final straw that causes this epic fall from grace?
So we left off with Lucifer, and let's be real, he's on the verge of full-blown rebellion.
Right.
That desire for, total autonomy, it's clashing with, the natural order of things.
Right, and I think this is where the creator would lay down the law.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Right.
But this source material takes a very different approach.
Oh, really?
One I found really thought-provoking, actually.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What happens? Is there an attempt to, reason with Lucifer?
There's this amazing passage. It's like the creator acknowledges Lucifer's pain,
Okay.
his confusion. But instead of like a cosmic beatdown, the focus shifts to Jesus.
Interesting.
And what's striking is that even as Lucifer is drifting further and further away, Jesus just keeps reaching out.
Wow.
It's this level of compassion that's, it's pretty hard to wrap your head around.
So not a showdown, but this continued effort at understanding. I mean, especially given what we know happens, it seems kind of counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It does. And that's what makes Jesus' character so fascinating in this telling.
Okay.
He sees the potential for darkness and Lucifer. Oh yeah, absolutely. But he also sees this lingering spark of the divine.
Okay.
So he doesn't engage in this battle of wills or anything.
Right.
Jesus, he embodies a different kind of power.
Okay.
One rooted in, dare I say it, hope.
Hope for Lucifer at this point, even with, the whole rebellion thing looming.
Oh, absolutely.
That's some pretty powerful hope then.
It really is. And I think it points to something we often forget in our own lives.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to fight fire with fire, right?
Right.
Meet anger with anger, rejection with more rejection.
For sure.
But what if, like Jesus here, we could acknowledge the light and the darkness within others?
Wow.
And ourselves even.
Yeah.
It's a tough concept, no doubt.
Yeah.
But it really speaks to how transformative compassion can be.
It's powerful, yeah. But does this have any effect on Lucifer?
Okay.
Does he even hear it?
Well, there's this really poignant scene.
Okay.
Jesus says to Lucifer, even now, as you're about to make this choice, the love the creator feels for you, it's absolute. Nothing can change that.
Oh, wow.
Imagine hearing that.
I know, right?
Really feeling those words.
Yeah.
While you're clinging to this belief that your way is the only way.
It's like he's being thrown a lifeline.
Right.
But he's so caught up he can't even see it.
It's classic tragedy, isn't it?
It really is.
And the source material doesn't shy away from what happens because of Lucifer's choices. Not at all.
Right.
But he's never portrayed as this purely evil being.
Right.
He's got this massive potential, but he's blinded by his own brilliance.
Okay.
His need to be right. It's like a cautionary tale for all of us.
Yeah, it really is. It makes you think twice about, thinking you have all the answers.
Exactly.
So what does the fall actually look like in this version?
Okay.
Because I'm imagining something very dramatic, right?
Right.
Cast out of heaven, maybe?
Interestingly, it's described more as a consequence,
Okay.
like a natural outcome. Remember that light bulb analogy we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Lucifer, he cuts himself off from the creator, right? The source of everything.
Right.
So it's not a physical thing, not really.
Okay.
It's more like this separation from what sustains him.
So less about being cast out and more about choosing to exist in darkness.
Yeah, that's a powerful way to put it.
And the angels that went with him.
Yeah, it impacts them too.
Okay.
They're disconnected now. Their light is, well, it's dimmer because of this rebellion.
Right.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
Even in this fallen state, the source material says there's still a spark of the divine in them.
Really?
Yeah.
So redemption is still possible.
It's not easy, but it's not impossible.
Well, that's a bit of good news.
Right.
Yeah. But what about the rest of creation? I mean, with Lucifer and his followers doing their thing now, what happens to everything else?
Now, that is the million-dollar question.
Right.
And it's something we're going to really unpack in the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Because even though this all seems like some far-off cosmic event, this rebellion, it actually has a lot to do with us.
Us?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, how so?
It's all about our own struggles with good and evil, free will, the search for meaning, all of it.
Okay, you've definitely got my attention.
Good, good.
We'll dive into all of that and what this ancient story tells us about our own lives in the next part of our deep dive. So we've been wrestling with some pretty heavy concepts.
We have.
But what I'm really curious about now is how it all connects to, well, us.
Of course.
Because this isn't just some ancient cosmic drama, right?
No, not at all.
It's a story that can still teach us something today.
Absolutely. That's what makes these stories so amazing.
Right.
They offer these timeless insights into, well, what it means to be human.
Exactly.
But we may not be, celestial beings fighting cosmic battles, but we all deal with those choices between, well, good and bad.
Yeah.
Light and dark.
Yeah.
Connection, separation. That's what makes us human.
So using this story as like a lens, how do we even begin to see those reflections in our own lives? Because it's not always easy to connect those cosmic dots to, like our daily grind.
Well, let's go back to Lucifer for a second.
Okay.
He's brilliant, but he's consumed by this ambition.
Okay.
He wants it all. Control, autonomy, and he ends up separating himself from the creator.
Yeah.
Now, you might be thinking, okay, I'm not trying to start any cosmic rebellions or anything.
Right.
But think about it. How often do those same feelings, those desires for control, for recognition, for power, how often do those show up for us?
Wow. When you put it that way, it's true. We might not be, commanding legions of angels or anything, but we compare, we compete, we want to prove ourselves. Those little desires for validation, for power, they're everywhere.
Exactly. And the source material shows us just how tempting those desires can be. Lucifer, he truly believes he's right.
Wow.
Not just for him, but for everyone who follows him. He's convinced his way, his path, where it's all about individual will, is true freedom.
Okay.
But as we've talked about, real freedom, like what Jesus shows us, it comes from something much, much deeper.
So how do we tap into that? I mean, we're not exactly negotiating peace treaties with angels here. It's easy to get caught up in everything, to just focus on our own stuff, our own goals, our own desires. How does all this talk about compassion, connection, this idea of serving something bigger, how does that fit in?
That's the big question, isn't it? And I don't think there's a simple answer. But what this story shows us is that every little choice we make, those everyday choices, they matter.
Okay.
Kindness, connection, choosing empathy.
Yeah.
Those are the things that build real freedom.
So it's not about some huge gesture, some grand act. It's those everyday moments, being kind, choosing to connect with someone, recognizing that even if we're not leading a rebellion or anything, our choices still matter.
Precisely. They have a ripple effect.
It's like that idea we talked about earlier. We're not just watching this cosmic drama unfold.
No.
We're in it.
Exactly. Every day we're choosing separation and ego, or love and connection.
I love that. It makes those little acts of kindness, those moments of understanding, they feel more significant now.
They are. And that brings us to a really important point. Remember how the source material talked about how Lucifer's fall couldn't be reversed?
Yeah, it was like his real tragedy wasn't the rebellion itself, but being unable to let go of his pride,
Yes.
His need to be right.
His ego kept him trapped.
It's like a reminder that even when we mess up, even when we make choices that take us away from that real connection, there's always a way back. But we have to do the hard thing, let go of needing to be right, open ourselves to forgiveness, and choose connection, even when it's tough.
Beautifully put. And on that note of redemption, of change, I think we've given everyone a lot to think about.
We have. So until next time, keep those questions coming, keep looking for those moments of real connection, and keep diving deep.